Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. So excited this month to be looking at the Word of God to continue to grow and learn together. Now, this week, we're going to start to transition into verses all surrounding the Nativity story. Christmas is about a week and a half away. Can you believe it? It's coming up so quickly, and yet we don't want it to rush by without remembering all that God has done through sending his son Jesus into the world. And so this week, we're going to cover some verses mainly from the Gospels, talking about how Jesus did come into the world. I want to start the story before he was born, reading from Luke chapter 2, beginning in verse 1. It says this: At that time, the Roman Emperor Augustus decreed that a census should be taken throughout the Roman Empire. This was the first census taken when Quirinius was governor of Syria. All returned to their own ancestral towns to register for the census. And because Joseph was a descendant of King David, he had to go to Bethlehem in Judea, David's ancient home. He traveled there from the village of Nazareth in Galilee. Now, I'm sure if you're familiar at all with the Christmas story as told in the Gospels, you've probably heard this, right? That Joseph and Mary had to travel a pretty far distance because of this census. And yet then we move along rather quickly into the more exciting elements of the story. But we're going to pause here and talk about this today. You know, when I think about this, you can really relate it to modern day situations. Here we literally have a very young couple. Mary is very pregnant. They have some severe, intense circumstances surrounding this child. If you've read previously, the angel appearing to both of them both being shocked because this was a virgin birth. And so they've made it through all of that. And then now they need to travel a long distance because of a census that was given. Really out of their control. Did you ever think about that? This was made by the authority, the governmental authority over them, probably with little concern for how it would affect them. You know, maybe you're one that you get bothered or you are very aware of how the government's decisions affect you personally, through your job, through your finances, through all sorts of things. And sometimes we can get really bent out of shape about that. The different decisions happening in politics, the different leaders that are in place, different elections that are coming. And I know we've talked about that numerous times in the daily doses and about how the Word of God tells us to respect authority. I get all of that. Not the point I want to make today. However, it's interesting here when you consider this story that Mary and Joseph were very much affected by this. This very likely to them seemed very inconvenient, very poor timing. This was going to be difficult. This was going to be an arduous task. And yet this is what needed to happen in order to fulfill a very specific prophecy. Isn't that interesting? The prophecy that foretold in the book of Micah about the place of Jesus's birth. And yet think about this situation. It would have been so easy to be negative, to complain, to say, why is this happening to us? Why this can't be part of God's plan. And yet it was. You know, God will use any means to get your attention. God will use any means to get you to focus on him. God will use any means to make sure that his plans and purposes are accomplished. And what I want both of us to be challenged by today is there maybe circumstances in your life right now that maybe have you bent out of shape? Maybe you feel overwhelmed and frustrated, maybe even anger or bitter. Maybe you're really just taken aback by what God has allowed. Maybe you've even become a little angry at him or at another person. Have you ever paused to consider that this thing that you're going through, that this thing required of you, that this thing you're facing, that this struggle you're enduring, this hardship that you're having to walk through, maybe could be perfectly in place with what God is doing in your life? And I don't know the purpose of that. It might be to get your attention. It might be to redirect your steps in a different direction. It might be to grow your dependency on him. It may be a lot of things. But what if we begin to look at our circumstances and said, wait a minute, God, where are you in this? You know, I have a very personal example of something that happened very recently to our family. Some of you know that Pastor Nabil, my husband, had an injury the weekend after Thanksgiving, and he hurt his finger. It seems like a very normal thing. But he actually broke it in 3 places, dislocated it, and he's in the process of healing. He had surgery. He has pins sticking out of his fingers. It's very shocking. He'll make it. But something interesting that I feel like the Lord revealed to me was a blessing that has come out of this. You know, for a very long time, I've had discussions with God about my sleep schedule and my priorities and my what I do with my day. Now, some of you that know me, I'm a night owl. I can stay up late. I wake up at night. I do a lot at night. I'm not a morning person. And so my marriage has worked lovely because my husband is. And so he has always gotten up with the kids and always gotten them on the bus. And then I roll out of bed when I need to so I can get to work and function like a normal adult. But very rarely do I have to get up early. Well, in light of this injury that Nabil has had, I've had to do double duty, right? And so I've gotten up. He wasn't able to drive. His whole right hand, his primary hand has been in a cast. Now it's in a splint. And so I've been forced to get up every morning with my kids, get one on the bus at 6:30, get one on the bus at 8, then get everything ready, help Nabil and all that. And it was hard, especially the first several days. And I didn't say a lot, but I was a little like, ugh. And then God revealed to me just a few days ago, he said, Sarah, look what I've done. Look what I've done. And I knew what he meant. You see, for quite some time, I've been wishing that I could get up in the morning and be with my kids before school and do devotions with them and be there, be present for that, because I'm not. And yet my schedule and my priorities and my busyness, I just haven't ever been able to do it. And here I'm in a position where God, through this injury, has forced me to need to do it. And I did it for a couple of days until I realized, wow, Lord, look what you've done. Look what you've done. What a blessing that now I'm in a habit, a consistent habit of getting up with my children. And I've been having such special moments with them. Me and my daughter will snuggle on the couch because we're tired. It's early. Me and my son have read the Bible together and talked about his morning. Like, it's been so precious. And I even told Nabil, I said, even when you can get up again, even when you can drive the kids, even when you can do all these things that you used to do, I'm not going to go back. This is something I've wanted to do for so long. And yet it was through trial and struggle that God showed me he had a plan and a purpose in this for so many things. But one little thing was for me to adjust my life. And so I challenge you today as we look at this. It's easy to have Joseph and Mary go, oh my gosh, this decree, horrible. But I wonder if some way along the journey, somewhere along a dusty road, somewhere they said, wait a minute, God's in this. Maybe conversations that they had, maybe as they saw the destination in the distance, maybe as they sat in the manger and they recognized the goodness of God. I don't know. But I want to be a person that looks for God, even in the hard things. And so I challenge you today, whatever you're facing, where is God in it? What is he doing? What is he teaching you? What is he challenging you with? How is he refocusing you or repurposing you to keep your eyes fixed on him? What if our eyes were only fixed on him this Christmas season? Hey, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for another daily dose for spiritual growth.